and welcome to a better late than never installment of Ben's Junk. Given that I'm probably the bazillionth person online to cover this guy. Now, you might be asking yourself what an old school quasi-purist like myself is doing with one of these reissue hard drive sort of consoles. Well, let me tell you. A while before I moved, the old tube TV that I used to play my vintage consoles on bit the dust. And once I moved here, I replaced that old tube TV with one of those newfangled 4K deals. And at the moment, I don't have a tube TV at all. But anyway, it took several months for me to finally get around to testing my old consoles, to make sure they at least survived the move. And they all did, but I noticed a pattern as I was testing these things out, and that would be lag and dropouts. And the lag was so bad that I'd press a button on whatever controller I had, and it would take half a second to a second for the corresponding command to actually happen on screen. Not good for video games. Now, I was able to mostly mitigate the lag by putting the TV in game mode, but the dropouts, on the other hand, continued to plague my attempts at playing, though this mostly just applies to the RF-only consoles. So anyway, I started looking around for methods of converting the signal to HDMI, and outside of a FrameMeister, which appeared to no longer be made, nothing looked too reliable. And, I'm not a diehard gamer by any stretch of the imagination, but I do like to periodically, usually after hours, play a little, usually familiar game, just to unwind a bit. And so, add to that, the way I've set up my hybrid living room / quasi-office, keeping anything like a game console permanently hooked up would just be pure clutter. So the next best option was one of the mini consoles that are currently so ubiquitous. Now, the two consoles that I'm most familiar with are the NES and the Atari 2600. And the current HD Atari 2600 thing just looks awful. So I picked this up. And it helps that this kind of appears to be the NES's greatest hits. And better yet, some of the included games are ones that I used to own, but in retrospect, rather foolishly sold off. So let me get the list in there. And I used to have The Legend of Zelda and Super Mario 2, but I had to sell those off when I was back in my music days trying to raise money to cut records. And it'll be nice having those kicking around the collection again, if not necessarily in their original cartridges. And some of these games I have never played. Believe it or not, I have never played Metroid. And the only big omission here to me would be Tetris. I would love to see that here. That's the only thing that really sticks up my craw about this. And I would grouse about no Duck Hunt or world-class track meet, but I guess the accessories that you'd need and trying to make something like Duck Hunt work on a modern TV would be a bit impractical, so I understand that at least. But anyway, enough rambling. Let's take a cut here, and we'll take a look at the contents of this box. Well, I'd heard that the controller cable was a little on the short side, but, oh boy. I know I can't get in the shot, but it's about the length of my arm. But otherwise, I dug out one of my old controllers just to compare, and they are indeed the same size. This feels a little lighter, but it doesn't feel cheesy. It doesn't feel like I could drive my thumb through it or anything, so success on that front. But otherwise, since we're talking short, here's the HDMI cable. I don't know how long it is, but it doesn't feel like much. And of course, everything nowadays has USB for power, so I guess I should be thankful that Nintendo included an AC adapter there. Now, as far as the console itself goes, well, I found it amusing that it's about 2/3 the size of my hand. But also, I'm so used to the original NES that I keep wanting to open this up and stick a game in it. But of course, it's all one solid piece. But it got me thinking, wouldn't this be a perfect place for an SD card slot? Or I guess since, we're talking Nintendo and copyrights and all, something proprietary. So you could have an expansion for this, but I guess it's just not in the cards. I guess if they ever do anything further, it'll be NES Classic Volume 2, and you have to buy a whole nother one of these things. So that kind of sucks. But otherwise, the only other things in the box were the instructions and a poster. And I would say that is kind of cool, but it just feels like a cruel tease. I mean, the game on screen is Duck Hunt, and we got Rob the Robot there, and the Zapper, none of which are included here. So there's your next assignment, Nintendo. Get on reissuing those things. But otherwise, let's take a cut here. We'll take a little field trip to the other room. I'll set this up, and we'll test this guy out. Well, with the included cables, I've got just enough length to sit at a decent enough distance from the TV, I guess. Of course, I've got it off to the side here so you can actually see the gameplay footage and not me fidgeting with the controller. So hopefully I can keep myself out of the shot here. But I am a little worried about that short controller cable still, and I've looked online and they make extension cords for these, so assuming that this thing isn't a total piece of crap, I may very well wind up going and ordering one after I finish this video. And I should also note that it kind of fooled me. The plug itself is a clicky thing. The original Nintendo ones weren't like that, so I noticed that I put it in the wrong plug initially. I thought, I could just pop it back out. Nope, and it took me a minute to figure that out. So anybody that's really used to the old consoles might want to keep that in mind. But anyway, I've got the tripod set up here, and hopefully we're ready to go. So let's give this a shot. And I'm going to keep the volume low here on purpose so I can still talk with some semblance of clarity. Alright, I pressed the power button. And there we go. Okay, I guess I have to do all the preliminary junk, don't I? Okay. Maybe it's... I'm hitting... Okay, it's the A button to hit OK instead of start. Okay. Well, it's all the games that are listed on the package. Let's do the easy one. Let's do the familiar one. One that I hopefully won't embarrass myself on. So, let's see. It says hit start to start game. That would make sense. And it looks just about right. And I'm just impressed with the picture so far. Oh, there's some lag. Well, I guess I'm going to have to reset the TV from my usual mode. Let me put this into game mode here. Oh, auto power save. That's even worse. I don't remember doing that. It must have been something it did for me. Okay, game mode. So, let's see if this is a little less laggy. Yeah. That's better. I feel like my aim's a little off, but I don't know if that's just because I'm sitting at a weird angle or what. So, it doesn't seem like it's dragging too much, although I swear it's a tad quicker when I play the old one. It seems like it moves along a little better. Again, I don't know if that's me, but it seems alright. Yeah, for all intents and purposes, I think it's okay. I think I still kind of prefer... Boy, I feel so lost here, and I shouldn't. For all intents and purposes, it's alright. Let's see how good of a jump I can get at the end of the level here. And... yeah, alright. Well, for what it is, it's alright. I guess I'll call that a success. I think I'm going to turn this off. But, yeah, it feels alright. I'll play it a bit more and I'll add a little annotation and tell you a little more how I feel about it. But otherwise, aside from that, that is it for this edition of Ben's Junk, and I'll talk to you again soon.